They say history is written by the victors, but sometimes it's written by the survivors. In the grand, sprawling story of the Roman Empire, filled with legendary leaders and brutal tyrants, one name echoes through the ages with a special kind of infamy: Nero. But was he truly the monster history paints him to be, or is there more to the story? Let's unravel the tale of why Nero, Claudius, Caesar Augustus, Germanicus became arguably the most hated emperor in Roman history. Nero's journey to the throne began not with a grand destiny, but with a web of political intrigue and ambition, mostly spun by his mother, Agrippina the Younger. She was a formidable woman, the great-granddaughter of Emperor Augustus himself. After a series of calculated moves and marriages, she wed her own uncle, Emperor Claudius. Agrippina then persuaded Claudius to adopt her son Nero and name him as his heir, sidelining Claudius's own son, Britannicus. In 54 AD, Claudius died supposedly after eating a plate of poisoned mushrooms. While direct proof is lost to time, many ancient historians pointed the finger directly at Agrippina, clearing the path for her 16-year-old son to take the throne. In the beginning, Nero's reign was surprisingly promising. For the first 5 years, known as the Quinquennium Neronis, the empire was managed well. This was largely thanks to the guidance of two capable advisors, the Stoic philosopher Seneca and the Praetorian prefect, Sextus Afranius Burrus. They handled the administration, promoted justice, and maintained stability. Nero, for his part, seemed content to indulge his passions for the arts, music, and poetry. He even reduced taxes and banned capital punishment in some cases, which made him popular with the common people. However, the peace within the palace was fragile. Nero grew tired of his mother's constant interference. Agrippina believed she was the true power behind the throne and wasn't shy about showing it. The tension between mother and son escalated dramatically. Nero, feeling his authority challenged, decided he had to remove her from the picture permanently. His first attempts were bizarrely theatrical and almost comical in their failure. According to the historian Tacitus, he designed a special boat that was meant to collapse and sink while his mother was on board. The plan was set in motion. The boat did fall apart, but Agrippina, a strong swimmer, managed to make it back to shore. Realizing subtlety had failed, Nero abandoned all pretense. He sent assassins to her villa who finished the job. The murder of his own mother was a point of no return, a dark stain on his reputation that he could never wash away. After his mother's death, and the eventual passing of his advisor Burrus, and Seneca's forced retirement, the darker side of Nero's personality emerged fully. He divorced his wife Claudia Octavia, a beloved figure among the people, and later had her executed on trumped-up charges. He then married his mistress Poppaea Sabina. His behavior became increasingly erratic and self-indulgent. He saw himself as a great artist, a performer for the ages. He would compete in public games, singing and playing the lyre, forcing the senatorial elite to sit through his hours-long performances. For the traditional Roman aristocracy, this was a profound embarrassment. An emperor was supposed to be a dignified military and political leader, not a common stage performer. His actions were seen as a grave insult to the dignity of his office. He wasn't just an emperor, he was a celebrity, and he demanded the adoration of one. Then, in the year 64 AD, came the event that would forever seal Nero's monstrous legacy: the Great Fire of Rome. For 6 days and 7 nights, a colossal fire raged through the city, destroying vast portions of it. 10 of Rome's 14 districts were heavily damaged or completely wiped out. Ancient historians like Tacitus and Suetonius paint a chilling picture. They claim that while the city burned, Nero stood on his palace balcony, playing his lyre and singing about the fall of Troy, seemingly reveling in the destruction. This image of Nero fiddling while Rome burned has become an enduring symbol of callous and irresponsible leadership. Is this image accurate? Modern historians are skeptical. For one, the fiddle or violin didn't exist yet. He would have played a lyre. More importantly, Tacitus himself notes that Nero was not even in Rome when the fire started. He was at his villa in Antium. Upon hearing the news, Nero rushed back to the city and organized relief efforts. He opened his own palaces to house the homeless and arranged for food supplies to be brought in to prevent famine. These actions don't quite fit the picture of a man enjoying the spectacle. However, the aftermath of the fire is where Nero's reputation took its fatal blow. The fire had cleared a massive area in the heart of Rome. On this scorched earth, Nero decided to build his dream project, a gigantic opulent palace complex known as the Domus Aurea, or Golden House. This was no ordinary palace. It was a sprawling estate covering hundreds of acres with artificial lakes, revolving dining rooms, walls encrusted with gold and jewels. At the entrance stood a colossal bronze statue of himself, over 100 feet tall. To the people who had just lost their homes and livelihoods, this was a slap in the face. Rumors began to fly. People whispered that Nero had started the fire himself, precisely so he could build his magnificent palace. The public's anger grew, and Nero needed a scapegoat fast. He found one in a small, misunderstood religious sect known as the Christians. At the time, Christians were a fringe group and viewed with suspicion by the Roman populace. Nero accused them of starting the fire, launching the first major persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire. The accounts of their punishment are horrific. According to Tacitus, they were subjected to cruel and inventive tortures. Some were covered in animal skins and torn apart by dogs. Others were crucified. Most infamously, many were coated in flammable materials, tied to posts in Nero's gardens, and set alight to serve as human torches to illuminate his evening parties. This brutal persecution horrified even many Romans who disliked the Christians. It was seen as an act not of justice, but of one man's sadistic cruelty. The number of people killed wasn't vast by Roman standards, but the sheer barbarity of it left a lasting scar on the collective memory. Nero's lavish spending on his golden house and his public performances, combined with the costs of rebuilding Rome, emptied the imperial treasury. To raise funds, he devalued the currency and seized property from wealthy senators, often on flimsy charges of treason. This naturally made him a sworn enemy of the powerful senatorial class. These were the men who wrote the history books. Their accounts, filled with venom and disgust, portrayed Nero as a paranoid tyrant who murdered his family, a decadent artist who shamed his office, and a monster who burned his own city for vanity. The final years of Nero's reign were marked by conspiracies and rebellions. The Pisonian conspiracy in 65 AD, a major plot against him led by senators, was discovered and brutally crushed. A wave of executions and forced suicides followed, including that of his old mentor, Seneca. But the opposition was now too widespread. In 68 AD, the governor of a province in Gaul, Gaius Julius Vindex, rebelled against Nero's tax policies. Though his rebellion was put down, it sparked a chain reaction. Soon, the respected governor of a part of Spain, Servius Sulpicius Galba, also declared himself against Nero. The tide had turned decisively. The Praetorian Guard, the elite soldiers meant to protect the emperor, abandoned him, bribed by Galba's supporters. The Senate, sensing his weakness, declared Nero a public enemy, meaning anyone could kill him without punishment. Nero fled Rome in a panic, a fugitive in his own empire. Deserted by all but a few loyal freedmen, he hid in a villa outside the city. As he heard the sound of horsemen approaching to capture him, he knew it was over. Unable to take his own life, he had his private secretary, Epaphroditos, help him. As he lay dying, his final words were reportedly, "Qualis artifex, perio," which translates to "what an artist dies in me." It was a fittingly self-absorbed end for a man who saw his life as a grand performance. He was only 30 years old. So, was Nero the most hated emperor? To the senatorial class who wrote the histories, absolutely. He violated every Roman ideal of a leader. To the common people, the picture is more complex. For a time, his early policies and public spectacles made him popular. But the murder of his mother, the Great Fire, the building of the Domus Aurea, and the horrifying persecution of the Christians created a narrative of tyranny and madness that was impossible to escape. He may not have fiddled while Rome burned, but in the eyes of history, his reign was a dumpster fire of ego, cruelty, and excess. He was the emperor who blurred the line between leader and performer, between power and paranoia, ultimately becoming a timeless symbol of absolute power corrupting absolutely. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you never miss a new video from Historical Repo.